ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time for What Do You Call It? Podcast!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It? Podcast. I'm your host, GB. Today's guest is a UK-based wrestler, one half of Sass Central. Mumbling already. Please give it up for Sassy, Clarence. How you doing today? You all good?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on today. It is much appreciated. I want to rewind the clocks. I want to go back to the beginning, and I want to discover, when did you first get into wrestling?
So, I was always like a fan of it when I was a kid. So, I'm trying to figure the exact year now. It would have been, I'd say, a little bit before the Attitude Era and sort of still in the New Generation era. So, I would say 96, 97, right about that sort of year would be when I first got into it. I mean, the first match I ever got shown was British Bulldog versus Bret Hart from SummerSlam 1992, because it was a big deal at the time. It was like the first ever main WWE,
especially for us Brits, that was huge.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. Like back then, it was just such a big moment for us lot, because it was like it's like one of their main 4 pay-per-views at the time being brought over to England, and I think from there, to really go forward in about 2004 would have been when I first came across like wrestling training. Though back then there was not that many places to pick from for training, whereas now there's like a lot of places, especially in England, where you could literally just go and train. Most places probably have a ring compared to back then. So with me, there was this promotion by the name of Revolution British Wrestling at the time that had a training place in Enfield. So I basically first started training in there. Then it just kind of like bounced around to different places. So then we got moved to Glasgow. I think had it not been for the training, I wouldn't have had any reason to ever go there, because it is very barren, to put it mildly. Like, there just wasn't really anything in Glasgow, apart from the wrestling training, of course, but yeah. And then forward from there, I think about 2011, I took like a hiatus away from wrestling for like personal reasons to do with like mental health and depression and what have you. And I didn't have a clue how long the hiatus would last, so it ended up being about 6 years roughly. And by about 2018 in July, that's kind of when I started training with Ultimate British Wrestling, UBW. And then from there, what surprised me even more was I got back into it July 2018, and by about September they were like, yeah, we're ready to start booking you on the shows. And I was just sort of like, shit, 3 months? Wow, that's quick. But at the same time, I must be doing something to please them if they're thinking I'm that ready.
I want to put you on the shows already after 3 months.
Yeah, I remember the first gimmick I ever did. So the guy that trained me in UBW was Paul Ash. So he's like the guy who's pretty much helped like create UBW and has always kept a close eye on UBW, making sure everything's all running smoothly and whatnot. So I remember the first gimmick idea he came up with. So funny story was, we were doing like promo practices in training, and I remember he did like a mock promo on me, and at the time he referred to me as Sledgehammer Bets, and I'm there thinking, how do I make this gimmick work? And then from that point, I was watching like a lot of like Ken Shamrock from like the Attitude Era, basically when he was like proper angry and
Most Dangerous Man sort of.
That's the one. Loose Cannon Brian Pillman was another one I watched as well, and even like sort of like Al Snow's like stuff when he was just mental with like his little mannequin head and whatever. And so a lot of them just like gave sort of like influences for this gimmick. And so I ended up making Sledgehammer Bets this nut job that just wields a sledgehammer. And I remember someone was saying, but isn't that what Triple H does? To which I corrected him, Triple H didn't always have the sledgehammer on him 24/7.
No.
Like, he don't like pull it out in like a hardcore match or God knows what.
Or like a beatdown or something.
Yeah, pretty much. But whereas Sledgehammer Bets would literally just have it like as if it was like his like a child with their blanket. so to speak. It's like they can't really let go of it.
It was part of
like, yeah, pretty much in a way. And so that's kind of where that got from. And then it wasn't until like December 2018 was when the origin of, well, Sassy Clarence started. And how that happened was when we were training in Hitchin at the time, a lot of the trainees, like, one weird habit I usually had is when I'm like standing listening, I'd always have like my hands on my hips like a teapot. And so a lot of people looked at that and thought, he looks really sassy when he does that. He's like a little sassy bear. And it was only until Paul then pulled me aside and asked, got this idea for a new gimmick. Want to know what you think of it? And at the time, I was like, I'll try it. If it gets over, great. If it don't, at least I tried.
Yeah.
And so we did a show in Luton, and that's when the debut of Clarence happened. And it's really hard to describe what a massive pop it was. It was just one of those things where, I mean, leading up to it, I was nervous as hell.
Oh, I can imagine a new gimmick. You know, it's you've been used to the other one with the sledgehammer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so when it was ready to shine, so to speak, bass just went out. Crowd freaking ate it up, loved it, and then from there, I just kind of felt, well, I guess this is kind of like the end of the shelf life of Sledgehammer Bets then. But what was quite cool was the way they kind of like were able to like transition from one to the other, like naturally, instead of just like stop, reset, all that jazz. But yeah, and then by about the summer of 2019 was when Clarence was a bit more full time compared to the previous gimmick. And since then, I've never really looked back, really. I mean, a lot of places have, well, wanted a piece of the Clarence pie, so to speak. And then fast forwarding that a little bit more was during 2020 when, well, lockdown happened and all that.
Yeah, when the world went to shit.
Or as a man once described it, the world turned into bricks, which was probably an apt way of putting it. But that's kind of when me and Riley Andrews got talking. And it was kind of interesting to how we kind of like both got together, because out of curiosity, I was like noticing a couple of his stuff online and stuff like that. And I saw potential in Riley personally, because in my opinion, he wasn't like your stereotypical sort of skinny wrestler. Like most of them would usually have like, oh, he's small and skinny, he must do flips.
Yeah.
But something that Riley had, which I think most flip guys didn't have, was this character to him. Like he showed like a lot of flexibility. He had, I believe he had like a sort of dance gymnastic background or something like that, and it really showed like his flexibility. But he like works it in like a character sort of way, which really got me on board. And then both of us got in contact with Pride Pro Wrestling at the time, who were hoping to get a show out in 2020. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because COVID and what have you. So they postponed it until, funny enough, this year. June, I believe, or July.
Oh, nice. So it is still going to happen then.
It's still going to happen. It's just at the moment it's been sort of like a bit quiet, but that's sort of the plan. And it was basically going to be like a promotion which really like showcased like a lot of talent in the UK that also represented the LGBT community. And they were saying to both me and Riley that there was a big gap in like LGBT tag teams, because the only ones they knew of at the time was Priscilla and Mitchell Starr, who were teamed up as the QWO. And so that's when me and Riley decided, we'll give this a try and see how it goes. And that's when I decided to contact Paul Ash to give us like some sort of assistance and some like guidance into this, as not only has he been wrestling for like 20 plus years, but a lot of that is with tag team wrestling as well. Back when he was in the New Breed with FWA. And he was also in another tag team with IPW back in the day as well. And so when we first introduced the idea to him, he was immediately sold on it and basically said, you're kind of like an LGBT Heart Foundation. And what he meant by that was like the dynamic where you got Sassy Clarence, like this big powerhouse dude.
Yeah, you're not Riley. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Riley was basically the Bret Hart, the quick, the speed, and the technical sort of like dynamic to it, and it just kind of like worked as like a nice little yin yang sort of like combination with the tag team. And then from there we were able to get the ball rolling with Sass Central, which was a name, well actually that was a name that another wrestler, Gambit, came up with. Because initially at the time, it was meant to be all three of us as South Central, but then a lot of places felt Gambit would work better as like a solo act because they felt he had a different kind of flamboyance compared to, say, me and Riley, which is fine. And, you know, he's doing great as it is, bless him. And yeah, since then, you know, South Central, we've been able to wrestle in all sorts of places, UBW, WrestleForce, Win Wrestling is like a recent one we did as well.
I know WrestleForce does a lot of the Essex show.
That's a very busy promotion. Bless him. I don't know how on earth they do it, but they're always like
do good crowds as well. From what I see.
Yeah. I mean, even the crowds have been fantastic in WrestleForce shows, absolutely. And you know, me and Riley have always had like great fun with WrestleForce, absolutely. And I think we've got one coming up in April. I believe it's basically like a new promotion that's kind of come out from the Kettering area, IWU. I forget what it stands for again, but they've got a show in April in Kettering where both me and Riley are going to be on the show. Though, interesting enough, we're both going to be sort of like single stars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which, you know, I haven't got a problem with. Like, usually, like, I remember there was a guy that once said wrestling promoters are a bit like film directors, and basically what they mean is different people will have different ideas for characters.
Yeah.
Like, I think a good example would be the Batman movies. Like, you got like the Tim Burton one of like 1989. That was sort of his idea with the Batman character.
Joel Schumacher with Batman Forever, and then sort of had his own direction and spin.
And then you got like the new one with Robert Pattinson, the one with
really good, by the way. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really surprised by that because at first I was quite intrigued, but I was. Yeah, I was
quite skeptical, to be honest, just by basing the images and some of the teasers.
I mean, on paper, I was like, surely this can't work.
Yeah.
But then what I kind of like is the kind of movies that prove me wrong. So with that, I'm like a newfound respect for those kind of movies. But yeah, it's like that sort of thing. But then with like me and Riley, like some people would like me as a tag wrestler or like me as a singles wrestler, me face, me heel. And I just like to be flexible for like promoters, if anything. I feel it's less stressful for them. And I feel like what some people don't realize in wrestling is really the amount of stress that promoters go through in terms of not just getting the show ready, but to make sure like all their plans are like sort of on point. The wrestlers that they've booked are still able to make it, and just
can't
get
imagine it
being
easy at all.
Absolutely not. And that's kind of the respect I have for like promoters, because I can imagine like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be a promoter. And I'm like, do you really want to, though? Because there is a lot. I feel like a lot of people don't understand how much.
I just think, like, the rest, if you build it, they will come, sort of thing. Feel the dream.
Yeah. I mean, of course. I mean, obviously, there's a starting point for like any promoter, absolutely. But it's like, if you really want to keep doing it, you got to like find a way to consistently keep getting the draws, keep making it financially viable to keep doing the shows.
Even times like this, now, like one person can just get COVID, and then it can fuck up your plans.
Exactly, but a lot of the promotions I've worked for, they've always had like a plan B all the way down to plan Z, for example, and that's usually the kind of promotion. Like a lot of the promotions I like to work for are like ones that are like well organized, very professional. And they basically, don't mug you off or anything. Like, I'm not going to say names, but it's like there are ones that know what they're doing, and then the ones where, in my opinion, I think it's just a case of like they just want to play Booker, and then they realize, oh wait, there's actually a lot more to it than that. I'm like, no shit, Einstein.
What have I got myself into?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's not GM mode like in the games.
Oh god, absolutely not. No.
Have you wrestled Riley, by the way? Have you actually had a match with him?
So I've had that. What as in like non-tag matches or like
as singles? Like, so you actually got
not yet though. I mean, I wouldn't be against the idea. In fact, I'd be quite interested in the idea, if anything. But at this moment, it's not quite happened yet. But never say never.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. There is one match that's just come up that you just had recently. Now, we'll go back to some stuff you said about your career and how you got into wrestling.
Yeah, of course.
Take it apart a little bit. It's just because I've had her as a guest, Amber Joe. I know you got slapped by her. So I had her as a guest last year. I think it was July, June.
Fair play.
She was really good. We enjoyed having her on and had a really good laugh. I just want to know how was it wrestling her and how was that slap? Because I could feel it.
To be honest, this is quite couple of hilarious things with that. Like, I know when she initially did it, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I felt it.
I was watching it and I felt it.
Like, you know, I'll be honest. I mean, it's not the worst slap I've had, but I noticed it definitely like felt it. But at the same time, I just kind of just used that to just help me like properly like sell it. It's like, all right,
yeah,
if that's the kind of game we're going to play, then fair enough. But in all honesty, it was honestly such a delight working with Amber Joe. And Amber Joe's been one of those people, again, similar case with Riley, where I've watched her stuff and I'm like, she's got some really good potential, bless her. And I felt like the problem I think she and Riley had at the time was just they needed, like, in my opinion, better guidance. And I like to feel in a way I kind of helped them get that sort of better guidance from places like UBW. Like, because when me and Riley showed up to Paul Ash, he was going to have, like, at least gave him a bit more flexibility where if he wants to be a tag, cool. If he wants to be singles, cool. And I actually remember introducing Amber Joe similar fashion. So there was a UBW Square One show we did in Stevenage, and it was a tag between me and Riley against Thunder Express, Jackson Hart and Leo Edwards. If you've never heard of them, I think they started tagging the same amount of time that me and Riley started tagging. So we were both called like fresh tag teams at that point. And Amber wanted to come down, help out, and just show herself to like the UBW guys and all that. And I thought, yeah, that's not a problem. So I brought her down, and I think so far I've been hearing like a lot of positive things about her from Paul Ash himself, and he was basically saying, you know, there's definitely a lot of potential that I could see with Amber. And I know leading up to the match at Win, she was nervous as anything, bless her, and I can understand because, well, it's literally her debut for the promotion, and it's a different area to where she's from. Like, she's based in Haven near Portsmouth. So that's, and considering the show's all the way up in Northampton, and granted that's quite a trek, but what's been quite cool with Amber is she's been good to like help me out kind of thing and stuff like that, and like, you know, arrange sort of like these sort of plans. But no, honestly, it was such a joy working with her. We definitely had like this sort of chemistry that just clicked and stuff like that. And and if there was ever a point where she ever got lost in a match, I'd always like help her out and stuff like that. You know, it takes to the tango, as the saying goes. But honestly, the slap was quite amusing. But I think just the whole spot we just came up with at that point was just quite fun. But now, honestly, if there was any chance I ever get to work with Amber Joe again, absolutely.
No, I'm glad to hear that positive, like, you know, feedback about her, and the fact that I remember speaking to her last year. I think she only wrestled like 1 or 2 matches at the time. Because
I think she was quite new at that point, whereas now she's been getting a few more matches, and I'm definitely seeing improvement in Amber. Like, because there was that match that I was in with her, and then there was a match of hers I saw literally the day after, and she was pretty good in that. Like, she's really good at like working the crowd, and her offense is fantastic. Strikes were decent. Well, I know she admitted the slap was a bit hard, but I'm like, to be honest, I've had worse.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Just want to ask with the training that you did initially have. I know you said you took a break, but I just want to ask about the training because I think the listeners do like to hear about it. What were some of the biggest challenges that you had to encounter? So things that you may have struggled with at the time.
I think the only struggles that I could really think of was, I think back then there wasn't like a ring provider, and a lot of it was just like on like these big judo mats, so to speak, with like the occasional crash mat and stuff like that for like the more impactful sort of moves. But a lot of the wrestling was just trying to like figure out on like position. A lot of it was just to do with like positioning and stuff like that. So we couldn't exactly like run the ropes because there was no ropes to run, kind of thing. So I think there was a sort of I think it was more of the challenges kind of happened a little bit later, but there was some challenges I did come across sort of like at that point. And I think initially it was a lot of just like trying to like adjust to like other people's like different styles, because there was all shapes and sizes in the training, that's for certain. And obviously the ones that still wanted to keep up with it obviously stayed with the training, whereas the others just kind of like filtered out, sort of like out of it, sort of thing. I know a lot of people, they want to try wrestling, but there's always the ones that really want to do it, and then the ones that like, nah, not for me.
That was me, mate. I did long drop kicks, and I was just like, not for me. There was no ring either. I pretty much had still what you did, literally flats and just running around, match and just learn back bump, but not in an actual ring. And I was just like, yeah, not for me. I admit it. At least I tried it, but I'd rather stay here and talk to wrestlers instead.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying it, but as long as you're like honest with yourself and not
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
like,
just
my asthma's quite pretty severe as well. I'm just not kind of excuses to get the violin out, listeners. And
it's cool. It's cool. Like, honestly, like there's even been some wrestlers that I've come across that have had like these crazy sort of like health conditions. Like I know there was one guy that had like open heart surgery and he still wanted to wrestle. I'm like, I mean, I admire your bravery, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to last that long. If I'm to be honest, like, open heart surgery is fucking serious.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling shouldn't be on your top of your list.
I mean,
just basic living should be quite high up.
Like if anything, a saying I always go by: self-love's the most important love.
Yeah. But I mean, if you love something, it's just hard to take away. When it's taken away,
I mean,
it's hard to accept.
I get that. I totally get that because that was the case with like me when I took the hiatus. Whereas as I was going through like job after job after job, there was that part of me that felt like something's missing. And then,
were you still keeping in touch with people that you trained with and up to date with wrestling itself on the TV?
So I mean, the people that I trained with back then, I think at the moment there's only been like one, maybe two I've been able to still keep in contact with. If anything, I think what it is just everyone's lives just gotten crazy, and it just kind of hard to like. I mean, the people I kind of kept in touch was my trainer at the time, which was Sammy Ray. Bless his heart, he's actually been living a nice country life. Bless him.
Nice.
So
good transition from wrestling to countryside.
Yeah, I mean, bless him. I mean, I think he was training, and then there was a point where he had open heart surgery and had to retire, like very like early in his career. So he was still in his 20s when he had that done, and it was just sort of like shit, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and obviously I still keep in touch, and I remember like when I kind of like had my first year into wrestling from like 2018 to 2019. He generally like messaged me one day and was just like, "I'm really glad that you stuck with the wrestling." And I was like, to be honest, mate. And I think she was just like, to be honest, mate, I'd be wrong to not credit you. And also, I don't think I'd be this far without like your previous knowledge anyway, because that was what was kind of weird. Getting back into it in 2018 was these flashbacks from like the training that I had with him back then were just all coming back to me. It was just like, holy cow.
No, that's fair, man. With the Sassy Bear Clarence, and I want to ask about the persona because it's awesome. I like it. It's good. In fact, they come out with George Michael, Ken Whisper. I'm going to ask about that in a minute, but I just want to talk about the gimmick itself first. Cool. And I know you probably get a lot, but is it a massive influence because of Adrian Street? I was going to say Adrian Donis because I'm a WWF guy, but
yeah. I will say Adrian Street is probably the biggest influence for the character in general. And I think a lot of what I liked about Adrian Street was he would have like the sort of the flamboyance and sort of like the charisma going, like starting off with. But then when shit hits the fan, he will just literally, stretch you, to put it mildly, and proper like beat you up and whatnot. Just to show, I may wear makeup and look pretty and express myself in this manner. Yeah. But I still want to win. I still want to kill you. Yeah, to put it mildly. And there was that sort of approach to it. I thought, okay, that's quite cool. And it was only when I took like a bit of an observation and realised it's not that many sort of like big hoss guys that are really confident in doing a gimmick like this. So then it was like, okay.
I mean, especially in current wrestling at the moment, I can't think.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of the like not to like paint everyone the same, but a lot of like sort of big hoss heavyweight men always like keep a sort of like, oh, I'm tough, I'm strong, and all this shit. And I just feel like it's not really going to help me like stand out because there's all these other people that are doing it. Probably been doing it decades before I started doing it, and so it was just a case of taking the Adrian Street gimmick, but then change the dynamic a bit. In terms of like wrestling style and everything, a lot of my own influence would have been Dr. Death Steve Williams. Like this big.
You can see that with the slam as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of like. My sort of like wrestling offense is sort of like inspired by Dr. Steve Williams. Very underrated dude. I feel like he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. He's a hell of an athlete, absolutely. A lot of stuff he could do for his size is just insane.
I think a lot of the modern fans will. I think the first thing that comes up now about him, and it's a shame. And I think I'm going to say, Brawl for All is done really well. And that was my first instruction.
Yeah, and I get that because a lot of like casual wrestling fans, like WWE is usually their first go-to place, and that's nothing wrong with that. It's just It's just, I feel like if that's all you remember of him, you're really missing out on the
It's a
dude.
shame. Like it's stuff that for me, I have to go back the network, which is a blessing. I mean, WWE itself, really great, but the network has its bonuses, and I've gone back and watched some of his stuff, especially with Terry Gordy, like the match Steiner Brothers. Oh, 92, so good,
beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and yeah. So in terms of like wrestling style and all not, Steve Williams is the influence. In terms of like the Clarence gimmick, 100% Adrian Street.
That's such a cool mix. Like I can't say I've had anyone in a podcast or seen anyone, especially in the UK scene, that has that mix. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Adrian Street. I'm going to say Adrian Dons just because, yeah. I was trying not to say it first, just because I actually thought he was the original until I got older and become a wrestling historian.
Oh,
right. He inspired him. Oh,
yeah,
right.
That's kind of where that came from. That. So.
Yeah. But have you actually consulted? Like, have you reached out to Adrian Street? You know, spoke to him?
No, and one thing that I was really gutted about was there was actually like a seminar of his that was happening in London at the time. It would have been with the London School of Lucha at the time, and I was so gutted I couldn't make it because I had like other commitments. But otherwise, would have been there in a heartbeat. It would have been so freaking cool to have met him in person.
Yeah, just to explain, like, this is what I do. I mean, if you could find a way just to reach out to him and just show him stuff, I think he'd be tough by it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If there was a way to get in touch or to get like a message across to him, I'd just say, just let you know, I was heavily inspired by your work to basically create this sort of new take on your gimmick. If there was a way to reach out to Adrian Street, that'd be freaking cool.
And I think younger fans have actually been sort of being reintroduced to him with that documentary that's on the network as well.
I will say 100%. If you're really interested to check it out, go for it because it is such a good.
Very good. I didn't really know a lot about him. I knew off him, seen some bits. Then you learn so much, and you realise like how much of an influence he actually has had.
Absolutely.
But no, he was awesome. I want to go back to George Michael from what you said. The Careless Whisper. Just mate, who doesn't like George Michael? I want to know. Is there a specific reason why you use that as a theme song, or you have?
So hilariously, this was like another idea of like Paul Ash, and as we were like going through like the development of the gimmick, it's like, to be honest, there's only one song I can think of that I think would work, and that's Careless Whisper, and I like the song. Like I've got nothing against
it's one of his most famous songs.
Yeah, it's like probably like if you were like to do like a tally of like get like a clipboard and whatnot, be like, okay, what's the first George Michael song that comes to your head? You'll either get Careless Whisper or Faith.
Yeah.
Or maybe the odd one that just says Outside, which is a cool song, but I'd say Faith and Careless Whisper are a bit more well known in his sort of
I'm literally got my head again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think something that Paul Ash has said is, in terms of like, if you're like an aspiring wrestler starting out and you want to like pick like a theme song for your character, go for something that either the crowd knows or something that really like, basically something that they know, but then it also works with your character. And well, I think what I find quite interesting with Careless Whisper is, well, for starters, who doesn't know that song? I mean, come on. Like, I could literally name...
As soon as like the intro comes in, you've got to know straight away.
Like, and something that I thought was pretty cool was when like, studying the song to like figure out where's the point I should come out the curtain. And I think literally after the 3 seconds of drums and the minute that sax hit, that's always been like the best time to ever come out that curtain, because that's when the crowd are freaking ready and it's like, boom, there he is, this big, colourful dude with a big mullet and whatnot. There he is.
You get like the parents joining, because obviously like, a lot of the family shows that you've done, like, I mean, obviously the kids will probably know the song kind of, but the parents...
mate, there's been so many family shows that I've been to where I would always see the occasional little Mexican wave going on, the old little proper swaying of hands. I'm not even joking. Like, there's been a couple of shows I did for a specific promotion in Norfolk, Falling Star Wrestling, and honestly, one show in particular, like, the minute the music hits, I'm looking at the crowd. It's literally just all this in the crowd, and it's just mad. But I love it.
That's pretty cool.
It is so freaking cool, and yeah, Careless Whisper should always work. Like, I never had a problem with the song at all. I thought, go for it, see if it works, and.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's a show that you're on, it goes to DVD, then I actually have to cut the song out.
Like, I think the only time I've ever had to like change the music was for like copyright reasons for a promotion, because they were doing a deal with Fight.tv.
Yeah,
obviously the copyright hammer is very hard and heavy, and it's just like, I can see why I can't use Careless Whisper. Oh well, if you get something that's royalty free and flamboyant, then go right ahead.
Yeah, license free, royalty.
There was actually another promotion I wrestled for, and this was a complete crime in what happened anyway. So what I mean by that was they basically asked, what's your entrance music and stuff like that, and I'm like, Careless Whisper by George Michael. And on their laptop, for some reason, they didn't have it, and even more insulting, they had a now that's what I call 80s music album. And for whatever reason, Careless Whisper by George Michael is not on the album. I'm like,
what? This album?
Like, how's it not on the album? But then in the end, all I came across was Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac. I thought, that'll do. And then by the next show with their promotion, they got Careless Whisper, but at the time, it was just like,
You're not helping me. You're not helping me. Come on.
But yeah, that's just another case of another lesson to learn for aspiring wrestlers. If you can, get a pen drive just in case. Slap your music on. I'm sure any laptop or whatever they have will be fine with it. If there's a free USB slot, use it.
I love that, man. I've never actually heard anyone say that as an advice for any.
The only reason I say that is because I know a lot of people are like, oh, if I could just I don't know, email them and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but here's the thing. So the job I used to work in IT, a lot of the stores we worked with, they're using very old, computer technology. We're talking, it might as well have been Windows XP or even a little bit before that, because whenever they try putting the new Windows on it, it don't compute, it don't work. So they're like, we'll just stick to the old stuff. And a lot of the promoters I come across where they'll use much more older technology and stuff like that. And it's this whole emailing business. And also, you're not going to be able to always get good Wi-Fi. So it's just
they might not even read the email.
Nah, absolutely not. I mean, there was one promotion I really lucked out on, and that was because I was able to find him a YouTube link of what's quite amusing is UBW have put up my entrance video on YouTube, complete with the Careless Whisper song as well, which was freaking cool. So I basically gave them the link to that and then directed them to a converter website that will actually work. They did the converting, it went through fine, and bish bash bob's your uncle, all that stuff. But yeah, I'd say to be on the safe side, bring a pen drive with, put your theme song on it, and that'll be fine. Obviously, some promotions they'll be able to do an actual entrance video with a big screen. Yeah. But if we want to be on the safe side for your average sort of wrestling show, MP3's fine.
I like that, man. That's great advice. I mean, I'm not a wrestler, but I'm just that actually makes a lot of sense if you're traveling as well, constantly across the UK.
Exactly. And like I said, they'll work with different technology each time, and it's just easy. Just in the PC, drag the MP3 out the MP3 USB, and yeah, they got the song.
Shout out to the convert websites as well, because when I do my video promos, I think you've seen on my Instagram. I've got a special announcement from my next guest. I constantly have to use them, so love them. I'm gonna ask one more question, but I'm not gonna ask. I was gonna ask as a sign off to end the show. What's your favorite match? Favorite town? I'm gonna ask something different. I'm gonna ask. Okay, so it's a question I've been asking last month or so, and it's always getting a good reply with my guests. So, 3 guests for a dream dinner party. You're the host. Past, present, dead or alive. It can be historical. You can make it about wrestling if you want. Entirely up to you. You're the host. You're going to be picking their brains. You're going to be serving them food. Yeah, don't have to tell me what food you're going to make them. But 3 dream dinner guests. Who are you picking?
Oh,
hey, something different.
I mean, I like that, but yeah, that's a tough one. I mean,
especially on the spot as well.
Yeah, just 3 as well. It's I mean,
that's someone say Jesus. Yeah, it's fair play. I mean, I'm not religious at all, but each to their own. It's fair play.
I mean, if that's what you're into, all power to you.
Yeah.
I think in terms of a dream one, I mean, it would be freaking cool to get Dr. F. Steve Williams at the dinner table. That would be a hell of a brain to prick out.
That'd be cool.
In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make it just a complete sort of old school house party. Just get me Dr. F. Steve Williams, get me Big Van Vader, get me Bam Bam Bigelow. Boom. That'll do.
Oh, you're going to be making a lot of food, my man.
Well, to be honest, my appetite is quite up there for food. I'm not even kidding. Any person that knows that I've been to a restaurant or a buffet with me, will eat a lot of food. But then again, I'm a big hungry boy, so there you go.
Nice. Actually, Joe, what? Because I think you may have thought I was going to ask what's your favorite match, and I think you're going to give an answer. I actually want to hear about it now. I want to hear it, especially if someone's watching it. Be like, oh,
Oof.
I thought you can answer that. What has been, or some of your favorite matches at least? Because I think one is still active. It's quite hard to give a straight answer.
Yeah, it is very hard. I mean, granted, there is quite a good amount of matches that I always tout as like my favorites. Absolutely, I think definitely up there. So I think, can I give you like top 5? Just to be...
Go for it, man. Man. Go for it. There's no
rush. Sure, absolutely. So I'd say easy for like 1 and 2. Both matches from Japan. Only difference is one's New Japan, the other's All Japan. Mm-hmm. I always like watch like a lot of like classic New Japan, All Japan pro wrestling. Just something about it just really clicks well with me. So first match from New Japan, I'll put in. So this was actually a tag match between the Steiner brothers against Big Van Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow, and that is a lot of meat in this one tag match. But the stuff they do is especially Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, the minute the bell rings, he's got this quick boxing-esque footwork. And bear in mind, he's 300 plus pounds, and it's like, how does this man move so fast? And it's like, I remember like one day I was reading up on him, and like, he was a bounty hunter before he got into wrestling. Like,
imagine that turning up on your door.
Imagine if you were the bounty and that was what was chasing you. You would be shitting bricks.
I would turn myself in like straight away if I knew who's after me.
And even if you're just like, oh, it's okay, I'll outrun him. Oh God, he's fast. And he's like, oh, there's a fence. He ain't gonna get over that, and he cartwheels over it.
His match against Bret Hart, King of the Ring, 93. Oh, I love it. It's such.
That's a great little dynamic as well. So yeah, back to the question. So there was that tag match, Steiner brothers, Bam Bam Bigelow and Big Van Vader. Just a great freaking match. Just 4 big Hoss heavyweights just going at it. It's great. The second match would be Dr. F. Steve Williams against Mitsuharu Misawa for the Triple Crown Championship. Steve Williams was at his complete A game in this match. It was like he had a lot to prove. Misawa had a lot to prove. It was just an incredible clash of like different styles, and just a lot of the psychology of the match really hits well with me as well. And I feel like that's something I think a lot of like new aspiring wrestlers probably forget about with wrestling when being taught it is the psychology. Third match. This one's going to be a bit of an interesting one. So, as nostalgic I am for their match from SummerSlam 1992, Bret Hart and British Bulldog.
No, is that you're going to say it? And I agree, but I want to hear why you say it.
Right, okay. So, I am always going to be nostalgic for British Bulldog and Bret Hart in SummerSlam 1992. However, I will say their match from In Your House, I would say, was it 5 or was it? I can't remember what.
I know it's the end of 95. It was after Survivor.
Yeah. It was that In Your House, and the reason I felt that match was better, and I will say one key reason was in their SummerSlam 1992 match, Davey was very coked up. Like he
wasn't 100%. Wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't 100%, and Bret had to basically carry him for that match. Whereas In Your House, he was in better shape and everything, and he was busting out probably more athletic stuff in that match, and it kills me that it doesn't get talked about as much because I'm like, it's a good match. It really is. Like,
it's superb. I've said it on the podcast. I can't remember. I think I might have said it to British Bulldog's daughter, George Smith, because I've had her on, and I might have said like I actually prefer it. Oh no, I think she was like, no, that's fair. I think she said she had a handful of people have said that as well. When you said it, my eyes lit up. I'm 100% with you. SummerSlam match is iconic, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go back. Okay, first half isn't great, but just the venue and the legacy of it. But that match, the Bloods. They're both like obviously they're more it's a teamwork as opposed to Bret's carrying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and the match itself is phenomenal.
Yeah, as the saying goes, teamwork makes the dream work, baby. So yeah, that's 3. Fourth match. So this is another match which doesn't get talked about as much, and in a way it kills me because there's a lot of mad stuff that happens in this match that is just so enjoyable. So this would be In Your House Mind Games. And it is Shawn Michaels versus Mankind.
Fantastic match.
For the WWF title. And it's a fantastic match. They both work really well off each other. Just both different contrasts and everything. And, not to spoil anything, a lot of mad stuff happens, like, even after the match.
Yeah. But I think because it didn't have a finish, people sort of sour a little bit. But the match itself, Oh, it's like 27 minutes non-stop.
I would say that the match itself is fantastic, and even I'd say in terms of like finishes, I wouldn't say I was completely disappointed with it because there was still like a lot of
Doesn't bother
stuff.
me personally, but
No,
I have seen people online when that match was mentioned.
I mean, I've seen worse finishes to a match, but honestly, with this match, it's like it's not talked about as much, but I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. And amusingly, was how I was like introduced to the match was I think back in the day they would have like I think WWE had like these DVD sampler sort of discs, which gave you like a sample of like these DVD collections.
Yeah.
I think one of them was Shawn Michaels from the Vault, which had that match from Mind Games against Mankind, and that was the match they used to advertise it. And I'm like, to be honest, I'm quite fine. This is all I'll have. It's just this match because it's just so good.
It's so good. Might actually go watch it again actually after this.
Yeah. Right. Fifth match.
Oh, fifth and final.
I mean, it's a doozy. I'll give it that. But I think now thinking about it, it's going to be I'd say it's a little more recent compared to those matches. Now, I know before I kind of flip-flop saying like Rock Austin, WrestleMania 7, and a lot of it would be just sort of like the spectacle and everything, just the build up to it and everything. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I will put that as number 5. Now that I think about it. See, I always flip-flop on this, and a lot of why I put it there is because just the build up to this match, fantastic, and it's basically like Rock and Austin.
If you ignore the Deborah shite, like.
I mean, yeah, okay. There was the ending and the whole like Austin shaking like Vince's hand.
But the match is quality. Like,
the match is quality, and it's like, yeah, okay. The Deborah stuff was literally a non-factor, as they basically put in the promo, be like, oh, she's not a non-factor. I'm like, well, she really wasn't, and I don't even know why she even was in the first.
It's like when you watch the My Way bit, and there's like the Deborah bits in it for like 20 seconds.
The hype package. Like it got you like be like, I need to see this.
Like, man, I still get goosebumps now, man. Like just
even to this day, and even when I like watch it back, it's just like, man. Kids these days, they no idea. Like, this was probably the peak wrestling got in terms of like
it was
culture and stuff like that. And I think after that, it's just never been that high. No. As much as they tried, it's never gotten to that point. And I think, I would put it as like a significant match in like history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just one of those matches. It's so good. Like, two of the absolute all-time greats, Rock and Austin. And I know some people will say, their match at WrestleMania 19 is better. It's like, yeah, you're not wrong there. But I mean, in terms of like whole package of the match, WrestleMania X7.
Yeah. No, I think more people would say that 17 was the better match. But I think I actually prefer 19 personally, just because it was more emotional. And Hollywood Rock was just untouchable for me. He was. I was so
shocked that was so short-lived because that was such a fun character. It really was.
Just those 2-3 months we got to enjoy of Hollywood Rock was just. I think I go back every year and just watch some of his segments, just like the Rock concert and just the segments of Hurricane. And
absolutely.
And I still laugh.
Tenfold, yeah, absolutely.
No, awesome. Where can the listeners and the fans find you on social media?
Right. So, I'm kind of glad you actually asked this because I've actually got it all up prepared. I know it.
No,
but in all honesty, right. So, where to catch me? Right. So, I'll tell you right now. So, for Facebook, literally just type in @SassyBaitClarence. You'll find me pretty easily. Like, you'll just see a big dude with face paint and a mullet. It can't be that hard. I mean, unless you're visually impaired, and that way I can understand. But
is that Marco Stunt? No.
But in honesty, just type in Sassy Bit Clarence on Facebook. You'll find me there. For Instagram, it's @ClarenceSassy, and for Twitter, also @ClarenceSassy. And I'll even throw you one extra. So on occasions, I'll stream on Twitch, and from there, just type in Sassy Bit Clarence. You'll find me there easy. And also, I've even got a TikTok account, which again is @SassyBaitClarence.
Man, you're everywhere.
I try to be as everywhere as I can be, if anything. But
that's fair, man. I think I do want to get into TikTok now, just because I've seen what kind of like what you can generate from it and what revenue. But I'm just like, I know I won't come off it. I love Instagram. I just have to stick with Instagram and Twitter. Even though Twitter can be so toxic sometimes. But I need it for a podcast.
Mate, I know. Trust me. I remember during like 2020, so toxic. Like it was just mad. Absolutely,
especially the AEW, WWE stuff. I mean, as a wrestler, I can imagine it not being fun as well.
Like, to be honest, the only reason I really use like Twitter is mainly just to like help out sort of like local indie talent and like just advertise my stuff, really, like Twitch streams,
this podcast episode,
upcoming shows. Yeah, exactly. So it's like anything to advertise, absolutely. But anything else, I'm like, I got better things to worry about.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. I think I just have to. I have to sort of be active on it, keep up to date, regular.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably
really helped my podcast. I just can't deny that.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Like, I'm probably more active, say, Instagram, possibly Facebook. I'd say more so Instagram than Facebook, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But like I said, everywhere else, I do try like pop my head in and just be like, hi, and just that's about it, really. But yeah,
that's cool, man. I'll make a note of your social media tags and where they can find you at your ads. Also, what's that?
Sorry, I was going to say one last thing. If you're wanting to get like, I don't know, this T-shirt, for example, the old "Let's Get Sassy" T-shirt. I could get the camera down there. Here it is. So yeah, the whole "Let's Get Sassy" T-shirt with the bear on it.
I like it.
If you really want to get yourself a T-shirt, onthegear.co.uk. Literally, you'll go in there. It'll be easy to navigate, and literally just look up Sassy Clarence T-shirt right there. Grab yourself one. We got from small to 3XL. So if you're any of those sizes, grab one.
I won't comment on my size because I get conscious.
That's fine. But if you ever need, like, you know, this T-shirt, if you think, wow, that T-shirt looks great, where can I get it?
No, it looks cool, man. I've seen some of your merch in your Instagram. It looks cool, and I think I like your design, and I think that's why I wanted you on here, man. I've been following you for a while now, and it's actually quite easy to arrange. So I've got no complaints, and I'm glad that I've had you on. We've had a good laugh, to be honest. It's not just been all about wrestling, which is I like to switch off sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's been fantastic. But yeah, like I said, you know, if you ever want to get like a Sassy Clarence T-shirt, just go to onthegear.co.uk. That's onthegear.co.uk. And yeah, not only will you be helping yourself out getting into merch, but you'll also be helping me out. You'll also be helping, like, you know, the community out, if anything. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. If the listeners are interested in buying the T-shirt, I would highly recommend it. It's a nice top, and you'll be helping my man out. He's come on and he's giving you a fun show. So please buy one. Thank you for coming on. There is going to be more What Do You Call It podcast coming out this week, actually. There's going to be a special Razor Ramon, Scott Hall tribute show. I know the Western world lost him, so I've actually had a few people reach out to me that said, look, you know, we all want to have a fun show, talk about his memories, and, you know, I actually got to meet him a couple of years ago, and it's going to be a fun show. So I know you overcame a lot, so, you know, it should be a good show. So I'm not going to start doing this voice because I do a very, very bad Scott Hall, but I actually feel half decent Macho Man, just so you know. And cheap plug, I will do it now, but I want more listeners to watch some of my old episodes. If you go back, you can hear them there. I'm joking. But everyone, thank you for listening and watching this episode. If you can like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, it'd be much appreciated, because then I can continue this show, get more great episodes like my man Clarence. But for now, everyone, take care. Hello there. I've got a special announcement for my next guest.
Hey lovelies, Sassy Red Clarence here, and you are listening to What Do You Call It podcast.
Yeah, I heard.
The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.